In California, people on both sides of the same-sex marriage debate flooded the streets after a court upheld a voter-approved ban yesterday. Here's CNN's Dan Simon from San Francisco.
They streamed out of the courthouse holding the thick 136-page ruling, quickly scanning the pages. Moments later, hundreds of gay rights activists began chanting in unison. Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Their words directed at the state Supreme Court justices who upheld Proposition 8. By a 6-to-1 margin, the court ruled it does not violate the California Constitution. That means same-sex marriage is still banned in the country's largest state.
It's absolutely outrageous that in the United States of America, this day and age, that the Constitution is able to deny the rights of Americans.
But for the 18,000 same-sex couples who got married prior to Prop 8, the court ruled those marriages will remain valid, grandfathered in. Kathleen White is among that group.
It's nice that my marriage is still intact, but that's not the point. The point is that everybody should have the same civil rights across the board. I mean, to me, this is the equivalent of saying, putting a measure on the ballot that says people over 50 can't vote.
Not surprising, here in San Francisco, Prop 8 defenders were dwarfed by gay rights advocates. But for supporters of the ballot measure, this is a day to celebrate.
I want my children to know that there is a mom, a woman, and there's a man, a father, and that's where children come from that union. And I don't want them to be any more confused about where do children come from.
One of the leading gay rights organizations in California is already vowing to put this issue back on the ballot, so it's quite possible that California voters could weigh again on this marriage issue as early as next year. Dan Simon, CNN, San Francisco.
All right, let's talk about it a bit more. Joining me, Chloe Harris and Frankie Frankeny. They were married last October, right before the ban known as Proposition 8 was put to a vote. Ladies, good to see you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Hello. Thanks for having
us. Let's continue the conversation here. Chloe, let me start with you. Did you expect yesterday's decision?
I think we did. You know, we saw the hearing live on the Jumbotron in March at City Hall here in San Francisco, and we knew the predictions, and so I think, you know, we got what we expected. It doesn't make it any easier to take.
Frankie, what do you say to those who say the will of the people in your state was upheld yesterday?
Oh, wow. Well, I believe in the will of the people, but I also don't believe that I believe that there are certain rights that should never be voted upon. And I think that, you know, marriage is certainly one of those things. And I don't think anybody who voted for 8 would want to have their marriages voted on by the public at large.
Yeah. Boy, Chloe, let me go back to you as we look at some of your pictures here. Nice pictures. How conflicted are you, Chloe? You're a married couple with the rights and privileges afforded any married couple, but many in your community can't marry.
Yeah, it was the first thing that struck me yesterday when we did hear the decision. And, you know, the night before, we kind of wondered, I think we even Twittered about it, you know, could this be our last night as a married couple? And, you know, there was some relief to know that we were still married, of course, you know, but it just doesn't feel right to know that some of our closest friends can't get married. I think we all deserve the right. We're all entitled to the right to marry the person that we love, and I don't think we're any more deserving of that right than any of those others that now can't marry because this ban has been upheld.
And we're also entitled to those rights in California. We're not entitled to the 1,138 federal rights that go along with being federally recognized.
Yeah, and Frankie, one more for you here. And Chloe, I'd like you to respond to this as well. The leader of a church in Huntington Beach is quoted in the LA Times today as being pleased with the court's decision, quoting a bit of it now, especially in the increasingly lax moral climate that we're in the quote there. I don't necessarily want you to respond to that, but if you choose to, that's fine. But generally speaking, what's your opinion of your opponents?
Would you like to take that?
I'll take that one.
Okay. All right, Frankie.
You know, as far as the lax moral climate, I mean, go back to the Spanish Inquisition, I would say our morals are a lot better nowadays. I mean, I think it just depends on how you look at it, and I think that's just a way of framing things out of fear. But what was the second part of the question?
No, it was just, generally speaking, what's your view of your opponents?
I just think that they come from a place of fear of change. What we're asking for right now is no different than what interracial couples were asking for, you know, years back, and African Americans before that, and the women, you know, in the suffrage. You know, historically, people just don't. They're afraid of change. A lot of fears come around that, and when they, in time, realize that those fears aren't necessarily founded, or at least enough people, then things change, and I think people realize that that it's going to be okay.
Well, in terms of our opponent, though, I think, you know, they have their opinion, they have their creed and their spirituality, we have our own. I don't think, though, that their opinion and their spirituality ought to be written into our Constitution.
Exactly.
Yeah, one more quick one here. Here's what's not clear to me just yet in the ruling. How do you recognize the marriage of some gay couples and not others? How concerned are you that your marriage will be overturned, maybe by a federal court?
You know,
go ahead.
It's just part of the bigger process. I think, you know, we're prepared for it if it happens, and we hope it doesn't happen. There's nobody, there's nobody out there that wants to ever be forcibly divorced. That's just not something that you look forward to, and you try not to think about it, try to remain positive. And I think that, you know, in the end, what we want are federal rights. We want the right to be recognized when we go to Texas to visit our families. You know, even if we're married in California, we'll go home for Christmas and we won't be recognized as a married couple in California, I mean in Texas. We won't have the rights even to see each other in the hospital there if we were to have a car wreck on the way from visiting one family to another. So, you know, we're looking for the bigger picture, I think.
Chloe, the fight continues?
The fight continues,
okay.
Definitely.
Chloe, appreciate it. Frankie, thank you for your time, both of you.
Thanks so much.